Joining us is former presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson right now. Dr. Carson, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
You too. Thank you.
Are you surprised at what we're talking about this morning? Hillary winning, becoming the first woman for any major party, and Donald Trump trying to put the past behind?
Not surprised at all. This is certainly what we expected, this particular type of race. There may be some surprises coming up, though.
What do you mean?
As we go down this path. I have no idea what's going to happen with the FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton and what dynamics that will play in the race. But it's substantial, and I don't think many people are talking about it. We're sort of putting our heads in the sand and saying, let's not talk about that. But I think it could be a major factor.
Yeah, we were just talking about that a minute ago. Jagan brought that up, and the fact is it's sort of up to Mr. Comey at this point, right? I mean, when are we going to get the details of this investigation, and when will she actually speak to the FBI? She's been saying this whole primary season, I can't wait to speak to them.
Well, you know, what's interesting, though, is, you know, regardless of the legality or illegality of what she did, the judgment issue is what is so important. When you're talking about a position like the President of the United States, there are going to be a lot of very difficult decisions that impact the lives of every American. Do you want somebody who has demonstrated such poor judgment in charge of that?
Dr. Carson, though, President Obama, it sounds like, is close to endorsing Hillary Clinton, and he's already made what sounded like one campaign speech on her behalf. More to come. Do you think that he would go out on a limb if it was a tricky limb that could snap, meaning if an indictment recommendation was really on the horizon?
Well, I think he has to take into consideration the fact that if Hillary gets in, his legacy will be protected and it will be enhanced. And if Donald Trump gets in, his legacy will be destroyed. So believe me, he has a good reason to get behind her.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because he's also looking at his own legacy here. And Hillary has said very specifically that she will build on his policy. She wants to build on Obamacare. She wants to hold Wall Street to account and build on the Dodd-Frank legislation.
And what that really means is a continuation of the pathway that we're on. 75% of Americans believe we're on the wrong pathway. Do they want to continue down that wrong pathway? And again, history is a great instructor. If we look back at other pinnacle nations and the things that happened to them before their fall, you can see many of those things coming right now. Why don't we learn from those things and take corrective action before it occurs? Maybe it's just human nature. Maybe we're not able to learn.
Dr. Carson, I have kind of a nerdy campaign question for you. Do you think that Donald Trump, is he focused now on sort of building up his data and analytics operation and sort of the fundamental foundations of a campaign now that he's won the nomination?
Well, obviously, those things are important, but the more important thing is that he continued to connect to the people. The people understand that there is a major problem. And it's a Republican problem and it's a Democrat problem. It's a matter of the government having grown and infiltrated and trying to dominate the people. Exactly what our founding fathers said would happen if we took our eye off the ball. And now it's time for the people to stand up and to say, no more of this. Now, they're willing to take a risk on an unknown political entity like Donald Trump to say that we don't want to continue down this pathway because we know that's not going to lead us to the right place.
Yeah, and at this point, it looks like he's softening his tone a little. He definitely did last night, promising to make the party proud. Listen to this, Dr. Carson.
I understand the responsibility of carrying the mantle, and I will never, ever let you down. Too much work, too many people, blood, sweat, and tears. Never going to let you down. I will make you proud of your party and our movement, and that's what it is a movement.
So what does he do to keep that promise, Dr. Carson? How will he make the party proud?
Well, you know, it's difficult because I speak from experience. You know, I used to have a temper and I used to go after people, and you couldn't hit me without me hitting you back.
Not like Donald Trump. I can't compare you to Donald Trump in that regard, Dr. Carson. We watched you in the primaries.
Well, you don't know what I used to be like. But at any rate,
Really?
well, you know, once I came to an understanding that it was actually not a sign of strength to always strike back. It was a sign of strength to be able to ignore it and not to allow everybody to get under your skin.
So you were like a wild and crazy guy at one point then?
Oh, you don't want to know.
That reaction.
That was very cute.
But you know, fortunately for me, there is a God up there,
Yeah.
and He smiled on me.
I have a question.
Now I understand.
I have a question. Dr.
Okay.
Carson, there's been a lot of discussion about where Bernie voters are going to go. So people are saying it's impossible that they would ever vote for Trump. Do you think there's an opportunity for Trump there? And how do you think he would go about getting support from those voters?
I think there's a tremendous opportunity to de-emphasize political parties, you know, Democrats or Republicans, and to talk about those things that identify us as unique. What makes America that shiny city on the hill? If you begin to talk about those things, that will resonate with everybody. I mean, everybody should be impacted by the accumulating debt. Their children and their grandchildren will be impacted by that. Everybody is impacted by, you know, terrorists who want to destroy us. You need to focus on those kinds of issues, on education, which is, you know, what empowers people, gives you the ability to control your own life. And if he begins to focus on those things, I think a lot of people will not so much concentrate on Democrat or Republican.
Do you think as the general election begins to take shape, the importance of the VP pick gets greater? I mean, particularly where, you know, you see all the negatives, the high negatives for Donald Trump and the high negatives for Hillary Clinton. How important this campaign will the vice presidential name be?
I think it may be more important than it traditionally has been.
I think so too.
It'd be very, very important to pick a vice president who doesn't just do the traditional vice presidential role, but who really can play a substantial role in helping to resolve these incredible problems that we have.
Yeah.
So he needs to pick somebody who has the ability to accomplish things.
Dr. Ben Carson, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
You too.
We'll
Thank
see
you
you
so much,
soon.
Maria.
Steels.com, Facebook already under fire for reportedly targeting conservatives. Now it's gun owners that are crying foul.